Hi and welcome to this week's tutorial. Now the selection process I'm going to highlight for a winner yesterday was Assimilation. Now, as I've mentioned before, with all-weather racing I do like to see all-weather form, preferably at the track the horse is running at today. And Assimilation was a pretty obvious contender for me, and so let's look at the previous form and I shall explain my selection process. Now, if we look at the horse's Chelmsford form, we can see 1 mile 2 didn't really stay, again 1 mile 2 didn't really stay, but his record at a mile at Chelmsford, this was a pretty good run, even though it's finished 5th. He stumbled quite badly, and it was really on the back foot from there, so that sort of race could be discounted, and it was in a class 2 and yesterday it ran in a class 3. But if we go back to this run a year ago, it was again at a mile at Chelmsford, class 2, and again horse ran pretty well. And if we even go further back to its run in early 2019, we can see at 7 furlongs horse ran pretty well, staying on, indicating that a mile trip would be ideal. So if you round all that up, a mile at Chelmsford was always going to be ideally suited to this selection, and off a mark of 91, it was reasonably handicapped. It was probably a bit unlucky in that run. In a stronger race off 93 and dropped £2 since was always going to be a bonus. So I thought that was a pretty strong selection yesterday, and indeed it won really well. Was never going to be caught inside the final furlong. So just to recap, the all-weather form is something very important for horses at the track and the trip, and sometimes you can really identify these types of bets at the different all-weather tracks. So it's something to bear in mind going through the winter. Now, there's no real eye catchers for me from this week, from the tips I gave that didn't win. So I'm going to talk about a selection I gave out on Twitter yesterday. Now, obviously, people that obviously know my service, I tend to give out free tips every now and again. And yesterday I gave out Thibault. Now, the interesting thing about this selection was the comment I received on Twitter. You can go to see the comment yourself if you want to. But the chap had basically backed the horse, or was looking at backing the horse, and halved his stake because the horse drifted out from, I think I tipped it about 6-1 in the morning, but because the horse drifted out to 12-1, he halved his stake. Now, this is a really, really novice error that punters make, and if you're ever going to make a success of your betting, you cannot be put off by drifts in prices. It makes no sense really, because if you're committed to the horse, then if you bet in 20s, then you have your £20 on. You don't half it to 10 just because it goes out from 6s to 12s. It makes no sense at all really, and you will end up costing yourself a lot of profit by doing this, especially with my selections. I take no notice of markets at all. A lot of people, if their horse is backed in or lump on, but it's just nonsense. And a market indication is in no way, especially in handicaps, is no way of a real telltale sign of what's going to happen. Yes, some horses have gambled in and they'll romp up by 20 lengths, but these are few and far between, and a few more gambles go astray, so-called, than win. So my advice is, if you want to back a horse, my selection or your own selection, and the horse drifts out, just have your normal stake on. Doesn't matter if it wins, fantastic, you get more profit if you're on best odds guaranteed, or you play on the exchanges, whatever. But do never ever ever reduce your stake just because of horses drift. You're just costing yourself, and it's not going to do you any good in the future. So just commit. If you're committed, commit in. Have your usual stake. You don't have to. You can even have more on if you really fancy, and it goes out a bigger price. Great, have more on, but don't reduce stakes. That's just pointless. So that's my video for this week.